Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Arthritis Foundation's webinar called Building an Exercise Program for Arthritis. My name is Lauren Polivka. I am a doctorate of physical therapy. I am based in Atlanta, Georgia, where I run my own practice. We take a pretty holistic approach to our patients, and that's where we apply physical therapy, nutrition services, personal training, and also massage therapy to our clients. One reason that I am very passionate about this topic and about being able to build an exercise program for yourself, if you have an arthritic related condition, is because I myself have rheumatoid arthritis. I was diagnosed at 14 years old, going into my freshman year of high school. So it was a pretty strong blow for a teenager, and now have had rheumatoid arthritis for 27 years. So 41 years old now, and have had a lot of time and work basically in order to figure out how I could still be a physical therapist, how I could still exercise and maintain a healthy lifestyle. And I really think exercise itself was one of the main things that was able to keep me healthy and active and go through school, college, grad school, and then into my adult years, into my profession, of keeping me healthy and strong. So with that being said, right, we know that physical exercise is so important for everybody out there, regardless of any type of medical condition, but especially those with arthritis. It is so important to be able to go through your own journey and find a way to build an exercise program for yourself. So I'm thrilled to talk about that today. We have a great panel of experts that will be able to share different types of resources and information and how you can start your own journey into that. Couple housekeeping things right now about the event today is that all the attendees that are on it currently, you all have been muted. There is a Q&A bar at the bottom, and in that Q&A, excuse me, you can type in questions to us. We will be following those questions, and at the end of our discussions, we will be able to address those. Also, at the end of this event, you will be sent a post-email survey that we would love for you to fill out that helps us become better at providing these type of webinars to you. You can go to youtube.com and arthritis.org in order to find any replays of this. So next, I would like to go ahead and introduce you our panel that is joining us today. First is Kirsten Ambrose. Kirsten is the Associate Director of the Osteoarthritis Action Alliance at the University of North Carolina Thurston Alliance Research Center. She has a master's in exercise science and more than 20 years of experience managing multidisciplinary teams towards successful research in chronic pain-related disorders. Her experience includes delivery of physical activity education and programming to individuals with various chronic pain and other types of disabilities. Next, we also have Paige Denison. Paige, welcome. She has over 20 years of experience working with evidence-based health promotion programs for older adults and adults aging with disability. She is the Director of Health, Wellness, and Project Enhance at Sound Generations in Seattle, Washington, where the mission is to support people on their aging journey through community connections and accessible services. Paige oversees the ongoing research coordination, adaptation, licensing, and dissemination of 2 health-focused programs reaching over 25,000 unique participants a year. That is called Enhance Wellness and Enhance Fitness. Last, I will be speaking at the end as your monitor. Again, my name is Lauren Polivka. I am a physical therapist. I also hold an exercise science degree from University of Florida and graduate school from Northwestern University. As I said, I run now my own practice in Atlanta, Georgia, where our goal is to meet the needs of anybody who wants to stay healthy, stay fit, no matter the type of diagnosis injury, disability. Our goal is to help you do the activities and live the life that you want, regardless of any obstacles that have gotten into your way. With that being said, thank you, Kirsten and Paige, for joining us tonight. And we are going to start by handing over the discussion to Kirsten. So let's get it started.
Thank you, Lauren. I'm excited to be here tonight and appreciate the invitation. This is such an important topic, like you said, for anyone, whether they are just getting started with exercise, thinking about it, or they are even up to an experienced athlete who may have to be readjusting in light of an arthritis diagnosis. So one of the biggest issues with arthritis, of course, is joint pain. Pain is often what slows us down, what drives us to go see the doctor. And probably many of us think about relieving pain with medicine, right? There are some really great medicines out there that work really well for alleviating pain in some people, but people respond differently. Some people don't get much relief from medicines, others experience unwanted side effects. So I'd like to pose exercise as not just a viable option for pain management, but arguably a preferred option, or at least one that should always be in the mix. I've only included a couple of references here, but there's a significant body of research to demonstrate that exercise is an effective strategy for managing pain, so much so that it rises to the top of various treatment guidelines from the American College of Rheumatology, the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons, and others as a highly recommended form of management for arthritis. Specifically, regular physical activity may change how pain is processed in the central nervous system, which includes the brain and the spinal cord. Regular physical activity, so not a single bout of exercise from a sedentary individual, but regular physical activity that is carried out over time, seems to inhibit pain signals by activating the body's natural opioid system, which results in less pain sensitivity in active people. So the opioid system inhibits pain signals coming in from the periphery in the body from reaching the brain for processing into pain. There are also parts of the brain that are responsible for decreasing pain and increasing well-being that get activated during physical activity. And we also get the reward processing in the brain activated, which is good for positive feedback and keeps us coming back for more. Exercise improves circulation of oxygen, which of course is a fuel for working muscles. Also improves circulation of those hormones and biomarkers and endorphins and other markers that address pain and inflammation locally in a joint space within the joint capsule. Exercise, of course, builds muscle, helps reduce joint stiffness and inflammation, improves mobility, muscle strength stabilizes the joints. So that's an incredibly effective tool for keeping people moving. And when you don't exercise, that's sort of that old phrase of when you don't use it, you lose it, really does apply to joint mobility with physical activity. Next slide, please. Exercise is also a host for good for a host of other benefits that impact pain and a sense of well-being. So some of the other symptoms that really do get improved with exercise are sleep. Exercise improves emotional affect or mood specific to stress and depression, anxiety. And we know that folks who have depression and anxiety also tend to have a heightened sensitivity to pain. It's sort of backwards and forwards that way. And I'll point out that in those first two bullets, all of the symptoms that are listed there interact with each other significantly. Sleep quality, pain, depression, all of these go together frequently, not always, but frequently travel together in a person. Physical activity is a common denominator that positively impacts all of these symptoms independently, and so the collective effects can be quite remarkable. Exercise is effective for maintaining a healthy body weight. Maintaining a healthy body weight then in turn reduces the amount of load on a particular joint, especially in the lower limbs, the hips and the knees and ankles. I'll point out, of course, diet is the most important factor for losing weight. Exercise is somewhat effective at that stage, but exercise really is a vital part of the equation for maintaining a healthy weight over the long term. Exercise also improves balance and agility, increases joint and muscle flexibility, and even self-confidence to reduce the risk of falling or the fear of falling. And that also in turn reduces the risk of injury that can lead to worsening pain or worsening arthritis. So we just touched on the effect that exercise can have on emotional well-being related to stress and mood, but another factor that has a significant impact on our emotions is our beliefs. We can often be our own worst enemy with negative thoughts or concerns, right? And so these influence our emotions and get in the way of our best intentions, let alone any progress we might be able to make. So if we feel negatively about exercise with thoughts that relate to fear that exercise will make pain or arthritis worse, exercise won't make a difference for me, I don't know how to start or what to do, I don't have enough time in my day to make exercise worth it, all of these negative thoughts can really get us stuck and prevent our ability to be successful or to move forward towards more activity. The good news, though, is that we can change our thoughts and our beliefs. We can educate ourselves about the benefits of exercise, like participating in tonight's webinar. We can dispel the myths that fuel those negative thoughts. So once we change our beliefs, then our actions and our behaviors and even our emotions start to improve. Those follow. So now we know that exercise improves pain and a host of other physical and emotional symptoms. You're done with the negative self-talk and you believe that exercise is the best possible gift you can give to yourself, besides hanging out with your friends. And there is a whole body of research to support that too. But now what? Now, how do you actually get started? It's quite simple. You start by moving more today than you did yesterday. Many of you may have seen or at least heard of the physical activity guidelines for Americans, which set forth a goal of achieving 150 minutes per week of moderate intensity physical activity, plus 2 days of muscle strengthening activity. These are evidence-based guidance for physical activity, fitness, and health for Americans that is primarily intended for health professionals and policymakers. They are good guidelines, but I bring this up because they often get invoked in everyday news or stories without a lot of context or specificity for people in unique situations. And so people hear these and are left scratching their heads a bit about where to start and what that really means for them. Just keep in mind, these are simply guidelines. There are no guidelines police to check your progress. No one on the guidelines committee would even advise you to start with 150 minutes a week if you're currently inactive. So I'll encourage you to keep it simple. Start by picking one thing that you enjoy, preferably that you enjoy. We should always be doing things that we prefer to do. One simple thing that you know you can do today. If you are mobile, you can start by walking. And I call that out because it's something that most all of us know how to do. It doesn't take much in the way of equipment. You can even do it within your own home. So it's a pretty simple one to bite off and chew for a lot of folks. And then you can add more and have a goal to be well-rounded over time. We typically think about physical activity in two buckets. Traditional exercise, you think about cardiovascular exercise, walking on a treadmill, running outside, strengthening exercises with weights or with bands, flexibility through stretching or yoga, balance activities like literally standing on one foot for as long as you can to check your balance on each side, or participating in a fall prevention program that is specifically designed to improve balance. And then we have the other bucket of everyday physical or lifestyle activities like gardening, walking the dog, parking further away from a store entrance, even dancing, something that's quite enjoyable for most people. And then identifying your purpose. Finally, I would say, what is your why? You know, knowing what the purpose is for why you want to become active can be very powerful in keeping you going, keeping you focused and leading to success. It can be something as small as you just want to feel better, to something more focused or specific. Perhaps you know you're on a path towards a joint replacement surgery. Being healthy and fit going into that surgical procedure will very often lead to better outcomes on the other side. So choose your why, identify for that for yourself, and hopefully that will help keep you moving forward. So I just referenced sort of loosely about moving more And that's a good place to start, especially if you haven't been moving much at all. Keeps it from being overwhelming. But in time, to help you monitor your progress and to be a little bit more effective and engaged with your activity, we like to frame it in more specific parameters like frequency, intensity, time, and type, or an easy to remember FITT principle. We've got a handout about this. I'll put in a shameless plug for the OA Action Alliance. This is free, that you can download and take with you. Remind yourself about the FITT principle. It gives you a little bit more information. The idea is that frequency is the number of exercise snacks in a day or short bouts of activity that you do in a day. You could start out with a single 5-minute bout of exercise when you're just getting going, maybe increase to 2 bouts a day. Could be the number of days in a week that you're active. Intensity, how hard are you breathing? How fast is your heart beating? These are measures of how difficult the exercise is, how much you're working. Time, how long it takes, how many minutes are you active in a given session. Type I'll get to in just a second, but I wanted to just emphasize that these are ways to help you track your progress. Some people like to write these things down in a log that keeps them going so they can see where they started and where they are, 3 months down the line. Some people like to just feel this organically and do it as they go, whatever works for you. One thing I'll point out is that part of the reason we like to track ourselves and to do this is I would encourage you to think about forming a habit. This is a lifestyle change that we're talking about, not just like one or a couple of times. The benefits that you get that we've talked about already for exercise only happen while you are actively doing the regular physical activity. As soon as you become inactive or stop being active, those benefits wane over time. So establishing a habit is really important along the pathway to doing this every day and making it a everyday thing. We'll talk a little bit more about type in our next. Another way to think, I was talking about starting with 5 minutes. The whole idea is to start low and go slow, if you think about it in those terms. So that can mean time. The amount of time you are is just a short, this time you spend is just a short amount. It can also be in the level of intensity or the type of activity you do. We often get this question of what is the best exercise for arthritis? On a large scale, the best exercise is the one you will do. So I've already mentioned finding activities that you enjoy, things that you will do, that you are able to do in your environment. But if you want to be more specific, low impact activities are definitely a great place to start. You can't go wrong really with things like walking, Tai Chi or yoga. Tai Chi for arthritis can also be done in a chair for those folks who are less mobile or less comfortable standing and being active. Cycling and elliptical both take the body weight off of your joints. So it's a little more joint friendly while still reaping the benefits for your cardiovascular health and just overall joint circulation of all of those pain management hormones and things that I talked about earlier. Aquatic exercise, also not so weight bearing, but you get good resistance against the water. So thinking about these types of activities are a good place to start for arthritis. So some other considerations for success are setting goals. I touched a little bit on this with finding your purpose. Your purpose and your goals might overlap, but they may vary a little bit. Having very clearly defined goals, perhaps you have a very broad long-term goal, whatever that might be, maybe even doing a Walk for Arthritis 5K 6 months from now, 12 months from now, but a good idea to have short-term goals that help you get there. Things that are achievable, clearly defined, perhaps time limited, very reasonable goals, and reward yourself. They should be, there should be some fun in here, and the whole point is to do better and to congratulate yourself for your job well done. Scheduling, we talked about scheduling this a little bit in the beliefs when I mentioned that perhaps you don't think you have time in your day. It can be hard to find time in the day, especially when you're working a full-time job or several jobs. But a key strategy that can help with that is to really put it on your calendar, 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes in the morning and the afternoon, whatever works for you, but see it there visually in your calendar, make the time for yourself and keep the appointment with yourself. You're just as important as the person you're going to get on a phone call with in 5 minutes, if not more important. Monitor your progress and check yourself. How do you feel while you're doing the exercise? Does it feel okay? Do you have pain while you're being active? And is that pain out of sync with the activity you're doing? If so, step back a little bit, take off some intensity, rest for a few minutes, reinitiate or cut back on that intensity and see if that doesn't help alleviate some pain. The 2-hour pain rule I put on there as another way to check yourself. Once you're finished with your bout of activity, keep an eye on how you feel. If 2 hours later, you're still having pain that you don't think you should be having, that can be an indication that you did too much. Next time, scale back, cut back by half the time, reduce the intensity, whatever that looks like for you. But just ways to keep yourself in check. Are you making progress? I kind of skipped over that one. Just keeping yourself moving forward and stimulated. And on the whole, how do you feel? Do you feel good about your efforts? Are you feeling like it's making a difference for you in any way that matters to you? It's going to take some time to notice some changes that relate to weight management, some changes even in pain, but you should start to feel a difference after you've done several bouts of activity on a regular basis. So I'll give you a concrete opportunity to start walking. If we're going to pick walking, to start today. I think we often give this nebulous directive to people to be more active. And by now in 2023, most people know they should be more active. Walk with ease, and for our Spanish speaking friends out there, camine con gusto is a concrete opportunity for you to start walking today, or if it's too late today, you can start tomorrow. There are these two programs are actually Arthritis Foundation programs. They are 6-week structured programs for adults with arthritis, but work very well in people with chronic conditions. They have demonstrated improvements in arthritis symptoms, pain and stiffness, improving self-management, increasing balance, strength, and walking pace, which are indicators of overall health and wellness. There are 2 formats, self-directed and group instructor-led version. The Osteoarthritis Action Alliance at these URLs provides a participant portal where you can sign up, register for the programs for free. Do the self-directed version, you'll get a free guidebook, plus all kinds of other great tools and information, videos, short videos, some audio information, the ability to track your progress over time. So really great tool if you're not sure what to do. Here's a great place to start. You can also learn on your own and then walk with a friend, whatever works for you. So finally, I'll just leave you with a last couple of tips for more ideas to get you going in the right direction to consider whenever you're going to start out exercising. Finding your comfort zone. Do you want to work out in a group with friends and family? Are you more comfortable by yourself, indoors, outdoors? These are considerations to take into account. And then what keeps you motivated? You know, it should be fun. It should be something that you enjoy doing or look forward to doing, or is a way for you to get away from your day, perhaps drown yourself in your music or whatever works for you, entertainment, gadgets, the whole 9 yards. So I'll leave it there. I appreciate all of you participating today, and I hope you have learned a few things new that you did not know before. And I will turn it over to Paige to take it from here.
Thanks so much, Kirsten. I'll just kind of use the foundation that Kirsten just shared and build on it a little bit by introducing the Enhanced Fitness program tonight as an example of a group exercise program that packages a lot of these elements into an arthritis-friendly program that's going to meet you where you are in your exercise journey, specifically as an older adult, although there's no exclusions to this program, and it's a program that's inclusive for all people aging with disability, and we're all aging, right? So as the slide says, Enhanced Fitness is a low-cost, arthritis-friendly, evidence-based group exercise program, as well as being a federally designated fall prevention program that helps older adults at all levels of fitness, from frail to fit, to become more active, energized, and empowered. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that tonight. And I always feel the need to kind of unpack this word evidence-based a little bit and what that means, because there's so many great exercise programs out there available in the community. And, how are these differentiated? What does this mean, right? So the Center for Disease Control and Prevention and the Federal Administration for Community Living, these are both federal agencies that actually vet the science and designate community-based health promotion and disease prevention programs for older adults and people aging with disabilities as evidence-based. And the intent is to improve access to and quality of care for this audience very specifically. So these are trusted programs in the community to look for, so it kind of helps you filter through some of the choices that are out there. So what we mean when we talk about improve access to and quality of care, well, there's strong evidence of effectiveness from research trials that these programs work to improve health outcomes for older adults and people aging with disability, and that those evaluations are actually reviewed by peer experts. So it's not just one group of scientists looking at this or research scientists, it's actually reviewed by others that are subject matter experts to determine and come to the same agreement about the science. And there's measurable tracked health outcomes. And we're going to be talking about what exactly those are for the Enhanced Fitness program in just a couple slides. Also, these programs have been replicated in diverse types of communities and settings and with diverse populations. So it's not just that it works at a senior center in a certain neighborhood in Chicago, it's that it's been heavily tested, and you can expect it to work for you in your site close to home. There's protocols in place for instructor training and for delivery organization assistance as well. So why is that important, right? It's because once you have the class there and you enjoy it and you want to keep it, that's already there. That's already there. There's protocols in place to keep the class going so that the people at the delivery organization, they can focus on you, on delivering the program to you, rather than starting or creating a brand new program by going out and looking at what's available and what works. This is already all packaged together for that purpose. And because of that, it's often sustainable through payer support. So you'll frequently see these programs as part of Medicare Advantage plans, or I'm in Washington State, and here in Washington State, Kaiser Health Plan of Washington covers it for all their Medicare Advantage participants, for instance. So you'll see that evidence-based programs have that support as well, often because they've been scaled widely and we can find locations for them. So all these things are very important, but if we go to the next slide, what's most important? It's you, right? What do we hear over and over again is that people want to get their lives back. They want to do the things that help them age their own way. What's important to them? Because it's really about what matters to you, not what's the matter with you, right? And that's a great door to go through to goal set, as Kirsten talked about, for starting an exercise program. So these are trusted programs in your community, and we're going to dive in a little bit now into what Enhanced Fitness actually is. So from that colorful slide with all the lovely faces, we're going to this kind of grayscale one with a lot of good information on it. And I do want to call out that I know there's probably a wide age span on this audience. This program was specifically created for older adults and people aging with disability, although it's a good starting place for a lot of folks. So I know a lot of YMCAs have it as a starter program for many populations, but the original evidence was really around older adults. So you'll hear me referring to it in that space. It is a low or no cost program to the participant because it works in the public health space. And that's due to various funding streams as well. And it's really meant to be accessible. So there's really no exclusion criteria for who can be in this program. You're going to enroll, we're going to understand your health history and what your needs are, and then, have an accountability partner to determine if this is the right class or maybe there's a better option out there for you. Looking at the slide, the class is an hour, 3 times a week, certainly meeting those physical activity guidelines that Kirsten referred to, but it's not necessary to start full on with an hour of the class. And we'll talk about that a little bit. The class is available in 16-week sessions or as an ongoing program. And there's trained instructors. So these are instructors that are trained in working with people with multiple chronic conditions, as well as in the protocols of the Enhanced Fitness program specifically. The settings are meant to be safe and fun and social. So there's 25 participants maximum in an in-person class, 12 in an online class with the technical assistance. This is so all the support's there, keep the class safe, but it's very social. So we talk about working our social muscles as hard as anything else. The class combines aspects of personal training, which is an individual experience that Lauren will be talking about shortly, as well as group exercise, that kind of social, motivating music and fun kind of experience going on. And all of that's to support health-related behavior change. So I'm kind of going to skip the box that says exercise right now and move down to fitness checks. This is an aspect you often will see in personal training. You'll have baseline fitness assessments to kind of know where you're starting, right? So there are upper and lower extremity strength and balance tests. What does that look like? Bicep curls for 30 seconds. Sit to stand exercises in a chair, coming in and out of a chair for 30 seconds. A balanced timed up and go, walking around a cone and sitting back down. These measures tell us a lot in a short amount of time about someone's level that they're starting the class at. But I want to reassure you too, that if you come into class and you're going to have your, let's say you're going to do your bicep curls, your hands hurt. You're not up to doing, holding a weight and doing bicep curls. So you share that information and you say, I don't feel safe or good about doing this today. That's your baseline. That's where we're starting. We know that's going on with you. So that's where we're going to start. You never need to do something that you're not comfortable with. You're going to progress at your own pace because you know your body. And then you've got a support in the enhanced fitness instructor that's going to walk alongside you for that work. So we have that baseline measurement, and then we're going to do it again at 16 weeks. And then we're going to give that information to you. Compared against what we call age and gender-based norms. So there's big databases of information out there on people that are your age and gender, and where are you at and how are you progressing, right? And that information's for you. So we're going to share that information directly to you. We're also going to see how you feel about your own health, right? So subjectively, how are you feeling from the start of class throughout it? And we're going to gather that information for you as well. I saw some questions in the Q&A about tracking information. So that's all built into this program. But what's the actual program look like? Typically, not all classes love music, but music is a big part of exercise. So often the classes, I would say most of the time, classes are going to include music. And you're going to hear that music and kind of laughter going to this class, and you're going to warm up. You're going to take your time and slowly warm the muscles before heading into some aerobic work that could be seated or standing work. This could look like walking or rolling, using your arms. Some classes do some drumming and some other work. Aerobics is not necessarily about the legs, right? Those are big muscles that can get your heart rate up. It's cardiovascular work. It's really about getting that heart rate in this class at a steady state and then bringing it back down safely during this time. So again, classes walk, they do seated aerobics, they do aerobic movements, all of which have an awareness of the multiple chronic conditions we typically see in people that are in the class. When we look at this data, we know people are walking or rolling into an enhanced fitness class with 3 to 5 coexisting chronic conditions. So the instructor is always very mindful of meeting people where they are. Then we're going to go into, in the cool down phase, in some dynamic or moving balance work. So you might think of walking kind of a heel to toe walk, or and you might be touching a wall as you go alongside and do that. Or you might then be standing behind your chair and come up on your toes in a calf raise, and hold that. So we're going to do both some dynamic or moving balance work and then some static or some still balance work. From there, we're going to progress into standing or seated strength work with or without weights on the upper and lower body. Potentially using dumbbells if that's appropriate, maybe using an adjustable cuff weight with these little bars as appropriate. So we're going to know that from the fitness assessments and from also talking with your instructor. And then after that, we're going to kind of cool down, have some flexibility and fellowship time, and wrap up the class. So those classes are offered 3 days a week in sites. And from that, we really understand how folks are progressing and where to pull back and where to push forward as far as getting stronger together. These classes are offered by providers such as senior centers, YMCAs throughout the country have a license. Many YMCAs have this class in 44 states. Residential housing sites, parks and recreation sites, church basements, libraries, kind of wherever older adults are already meeting. So as to remove that barrier, we're going to also exercise together. So this shows how we evaluate participant outcomes. And again, you'll have this information too. Who are we reaching with the class? If we have this class going on in community and they don't have anyone with arthritis in the class, then we need to be advertising in other places to reach people with arthritis. But I will let you know right now that 64% of the people taking this class have self-reported having an arthritis condition of some kind. What dose of exercise are they receiving? Well, we think of dose mainly with medicine, right? But we can also think of it as physical activity. And Kirsten brought up the FITT, the FITT principle. This is also kind of around the dose of that activity. How much are you doing? Consistency is really important in physical activity, but we certainly don't want to be overdoing. We don't want to cause flare-ups. So this is a really important metric to keep track of. And then, are you improving as a result of participating in enhanced fitness? We talked about the functional fitness tests, looking at upper and lower body strength, agility, and power. And then also that health self-management, how are you, self-reported health, how are you feeling? Do you feel better than when you started class, right? So we're going to look at that on a scale as well, and periodically thereafter. We've had some participants in these classes for 20 years. And so we can see through time how they've progressed on the classes. So like I said, you can do those 16-week classes or just continue on. So here's the proven outcomes that we see. Maintaining or improving physical function, 37%. Protecting against fall and fall injury, a review of data across Washington State over 6 years for claims. Medical claims showed a 26% reduction in falls and injury from falls if someone did fall taking this class. 52% decrease in depressive symptoms. The power of movement, of physical activity and movement for mental health and feeling better is very, very real. It's been touched on a few times already today. Socialization, this is a big, that spark, that stickiness of a group exercise class is very important. And it's a great way to almost distract yourself to keep going sometimes. So very important. And we saw that 14% increase in socialization from the very first classes back in the late 90s. And it promotes a physically active lifestyle. So the goal here with enhanced fitness, or really, I'm going to say any group exercise class, is not going to class to complete the class, right? It's about taking charge of your health and living on your own terms and doing the things that are important to you. And we see that when people have finished the class and they're surveyed, they're still feeling the benefits, right? So that's really important too. From a healthcare perspective, there was a national review by the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Claims or Medicaid Services, CMMS, that looked at reduction of medical care utilization costs, and for enhanced fitness, that was $945 per participant annually. And then it saves healthcare costs for managed care plans, as you would expect. So you'll often see the program covered as many evidence-based programs can be covered under Medicare Advantage or Medicare supplemental programming insurance policies. It also decreases skilled nursing costs and unplanned hospitalizations. But what's it look like, right? So over here, there's an in-person class, which is the way we've done enhanced fitness since the late 90s. This is Mary Lewis's class in Baltimore, Maryland, looking strong there, working out, looks like in a school gym. Up in the corner in rural Maine, we have a remotely delivered enhanced fitness class. It looks like they're celebrating American Heart Association Wear Red Day there. And you've got the trainer, Erin, as well as there's a technical assistant you can't see on these classes. So if you ever get disconnected, it's not up to you to sort it out. There's always a friendly voice to help. And then there's a hybrid class. This combines both. So this is Priscilla's class in Utah, and you can see an in-person class being live streamed with a technical assistant on to support the participants that are online as well. We've done in-person enhanced fitness. This is our 30th year of having these classes. But in 2020, we moved into needing to develop a remotely delivered version of the class to keep people active during the pandemic. And, it's been very successful. We've actually found socialization to be really strong, consistent attendance, even higher, I will say, than our in-person classes, looking at 87 to 92% attendance in the classes. And from a pain standpoint, we've seen pain reduction, increase in quality of life, and reduction in anxiety as well. So really interested in continuing to learn more about those classes. And there's a arthritis program study that's going on right now comparing remote delivery and in-person enhanced fitness classes. So, but it is really interesting. I think there's a lot of people like me that just like to get up, not brush their teeth, and stay in their PJs and work out in the morning. And it just holds off on any of those barriers on getting moving. So, but you know what? Group exercise isn't for everybody. So I'm going to turn over to Lauren to talk about how to set up an individual program to get started in exercise. Lauren?
Thank you, Paige and Kirsten, for that excellent information. I can think of so many points that were what had helped me as I went through my journey with rheumatoid arthritis. My biggest thing was that I wanted to build a program for myself that so that I could find out how I could exercise. First, what I want to say is this is your healthy journey. What type of exercise, what type of nutrition, what type of health professionally that you seek is what works for you. It's no one else's race. You don't have to go from 0 to 100, as we've said, overnight. So, how can I make this work for myself? As we've seen previously, tracking things is really, really important. So, I do encourage use a journal, write down your experiences with your health as you try new things or as you have to change your old ones. I'll give an example from myself with rheumatoid when I was first diagnosed is that I could barely walk in the morning. There would be mornings that I would have to crawl to go to the bathroom. My mom would have to, I think I'm back there now. Okay. Sorry about that. I was trying to turn my video on. It wasn't working. But when I would first wake up in the morning, I barely could walk. I went to a school that had to wear a uniform and have to button up skirts and blouses. And my mom would have to help me do those things. However, all of those things I could do in the afternoon once my symptoms subsided, once I was able to take my medication. So I knew through my own experiences that if I wanted to work out in the morning, that probably just wasn't going to be the best fit. But working out in the afternoon, I'd be much more successful. So that's an example of how you can journal and write down your own experiences. The second thing is start with looking at your lifestyle and habits. Which ones are the good ones that are helping you meet your goals or live the life or feel what you want to feel every day, and which ones need to be modified? An example of this would be right now, let's say, you walk maybe about, 3,000 steps a day over the course of a day. If you were tracking something, you look at, how hydrated are you? You have to remember your joints are mostly water. They want to be hydrated. You say, oh man, maybe I drink 4 glasses of water a day. I'm walking about 3,000 steps a day. I should be going a little bit more. So maybe those are some habits that you want to set for yourself. And, use that 1% rule. 1% a week, find something else that you can add in. So maybe the first week you go for 3,200 steps a day. The second week it goes to 3,400 steps a day. So those are you changing your habits and allowing your body and your tissue and your joints to take the time to learn the new things and the new impact or intensity or just a new way of doing things throughout the day that work for you. And then make sure, as Paige just said, and as Kirsten said, keep the ones that you'll stick to that are working for you right now. Remember, as we've said, it is okay to start slow. I actually keep 2 20-pound dumbbells in my mom's garage for her. She's 76 years old and has had a lot of different joint problems. And I just tell her every time she comes home into the garage, I want her to pick up those dumbbells, just walk down to the end of the driveway, walk back, put them down, and then walk into the house. That's just something new and different. She worked on her grip strength. She worked on her balance, stabilizing and holding those dumbbells. So it's something small and different. But if she goes in and out of her garage 5 times a day, that's 5 times a day she's holding weights that she normally wouldn't have and just working on those different type of exercise techniques. For more on this, there is the Arthritis Resolutions webinar that you can seek out within the Arthritis Foundation called Help You Make Smart, Attainable Goals. Like I said, I like that 1% rule to add every week. Don't make it complicated, otherwise you'll fail and you won't keep it up. Okay, so now you're ready to begin. So what are some other ways you can seek out professionals? Remember, we as healthcare providers and certified trainers, we go through this training to make sure that we are specialists that can be an assistant to you, an advocate to you, a team player, and then really giving you that specialized information when you need it. These include physical therapists, occupational therapists, exercise physiologists, personal trainers, yoga instructors, Pilates instructors, Tai Chi instructors. I also am certified as a Pilates instructor. And in my training, one of the biggest things we learned about and would talk about with Pilates is it's movement therapy. It's not meant to be intense strength training, but there's so many varieties you can do some of these exercises that for you could just be movement therapy to move. It doesn't need to be intense strength training things. Swim instructors are a great resource as well. A lot of community centers, YMCAs, local gyms that do have pool access really do love to host classes for those with arthritis. The water can be a lot soothing to the joints, especially in some of those warmer temperatures, if that's something that works for you. And now too, there's a lot of stretch therapy classes out there. There's even facilities that offer stretch classes with a professional. So they help assist you and help you get into stretches that work best for you that won't aggravate your joints. I really like to say this at the end here of the slide, and that is be curious. Ask people in your community. The more that you talk to people, the more people want to talk back to you. They want to share their own experience, tell you about their favorite yoga instructor that they met, a community center or a church that has a class that they really love. And then it's up to you to trial and error, write down in your journal the things that you liked, the things you didn't really like, things that you would maybe modify. So you can really take the power into your own hands. There's not one protocol for anybody in any aspect of health and fitness and wellness. Now let's talk about how to protect yourself. So a lot of the uncertainty about working out is, am I going to make something that's already painful more painful? Or could I possibly even cause another injury or create pain or inflammation someplace else that I haven't dealt with, right? That's the last thing that we want to do is compound things. So I encourage you to think holistically. There's many resources and lifestyle habits out there to make us feel the best when we exercise. As I explained to you, my practice that I have in physical therapy isn't just for physical therapy. It's to be able to bridge a gap and give you a personal training if you need it. It's to allow you to sit with my nutrition coaches, talk about some things that could be better in your diet that could be creating more pain and inflammation, help you manage your stress levels, and massage therapy or chiropractic care or whatever it is that might be the best for you. A lot of people talk about support braces, and there's a lot of different taping techniques out there. My stance as a physical therapist is if you're using braces or taping, and if they work for you, okay, what I want to make sure that you're doing is that then you're also seeking help as to then how can I use this brace in order to exercise more the right way, to do different strengthening exercises or cardio activity, because I don't want these braces or taping methods to be your crutch. As an example, for something like tennis elbow, so pain in your elbow, there's a little strap you can put around it, and people put it on and they say, my pain is immediately gone. I can play tennis. It's great. Well, that's just sort of changing a little bit of the sensory input that those tissue is giving to your brain, as Kirsten talked about in the beginning, how this is all related. So if we're decreasing with some of these techniques, that pain signal going to our brain, so our brain isn't thinking that it needs to compensate, it's not under stress for whatever you're doing, then let's also make sure that we can use these things to train and do the right exercises and activity, even if it's something is that you want to wear a brace to help you garden, or when you're doing chores around the house or anything like that. It's very, very overwhelming because, especially in today's world where we have the internet and we can sell you anything and we can advertise you anything at all, that how do we know what the best one is for you? That's when I really would encourage you can talk to a healthcare professional, So you can go to even your physician. Most orthopedic offices and rheumatology offices do have what are called DME centers, which is durable medical equipment. That's where you can actually, if you get a script, you can use your insurance and get some of these free at cost or for a minimum cost as well. Physical therapists, occupational therapists, this is sort of part of our training as well. You can even get custom things made for you. For myself, I have to actually, I wear little braces on my thumbs when I work. And that just sort of helps take away some of the pressure. And also it's for injury prevention as well. Just make sure anytime you buy something, so even if it's like an advertised knee sleeve for arthritis, just make sure you can return anything if it's not something that's coming from a healthcare professional's office, because there's not going to be one thing that's going to work for everyone across the board. Now let's talk about managing your sessions smart. So no matter what type of exercise you like to do, we need to talk about the right things to do that surround those sessions. So make sure you have an adequate warm up and cool down when you exercise. So let's say it's even, you love to wake up in the morning and take your dog for a 10-minute walk, around the block. Well, you just woke up in the morning, you were stationary all night long, sleeping in one place or tossing and turning on one hip to the next hip, right? So then we just want to pop up, jump up against gravity. Okay, what I mean by that is that you're going from being on your side to now upright, and all of that force, okay, of our environment is coming down onto our joints. So let's do something better that builds gaps, okay, between that. And I'm going to go over those with you at the end of this presentation. We need to take care of our bodies throughout the day, give it a little bit more TLC than just going from sitting, standing, being more sedentary around the house, or sleeping, and then wanting to jump into an exercise program. A couple of other things, always make sure you are hydrated. I had one client who, he's in his mid 50s, he does personal training, but he always came in complaining about achiness in his hands, his thumbs especially. He works on computers all day long. I just told him he needed to drink more water throughout the day. I bought him this gallon jug that he can fill up, keeps it at his desk. He can't tell me that he didn't have time to leave his desk and go fill it up. As soon as he started drinking water consistently, he felt like his pain and his aches and soreness was much better managed. And then also exercise when you have adequate sleep. If you're groggy and feel awful, be nice to yourself. Maybe it can wait till later in the day. Do something else first that sort of gets everything awake, gets your joints moving. Or maybe that's just the day that exercising isn't the right day for you. And that's okay. So some other things about recovery. We have a lot of fancy stuff that's out there in today's world. You will see a lot of advertisements, either on the internet, social media, on TV about it. But these things are things that are available. So if it's something that you do want to sort of step a little bit outside of the box and see how other recovery techniques might make you able to exercise better and then recover better, that you don't wake up the next day and feel achy like you did too much. Sometimes it's just you're not recovering the right way. One thing is there are these daily trackers. So you can see I use a watch, and every morning when I wake up, I can log into my phone, and it does actually tell me how well I sleep, and it gives me a sleep score and a recovery score. I know a lot of people who actually use that to help determine what type of exercise they should do that day. Maybe they just need to do some meditation, deep breathing, and some stretches at home. Or maybe you recovered really well, you slept really well. That's your day to go to the park and take a longer walk. Other things is there's a lot of home massage tools, and a lot of people really like this just to keep their tissue moving, to keep blood flow going into their legs. There's things called hypervolts, Theraguns, Normatec are these boots that you actually put on. You sort of look like you're putting on snow pants, and they blow up and they just help massage all of that tissue and fluid through your legs. There's things like saunas, cold tubs. Some people love hot, some people love cold. It's definitely a personal preference. Hot tubs. A float tank are these tanks full of magnesium that people lay in, and they just sort of, your body floats while you're inside of it. It allows all of that magnesium from the water to get into your muscles, which helps your muscles relax. People will even just make their own at home. So fill up the bathtub and put a whole bunch of Epsom salt in it. Always, you can reach out to healthcare providers, massage therapists, physical, occupational therapists, and chiropractic care. And then last but not least, with exercise, how your body feels, how it's able to perform, and how it's able to recover can also be very dependent on what type of nutrition, regimen that you have, or any type of vitamins or minerals or things. With all of these things, always make sure that you talk to a physician first to make sure that you're clear to even use a sauna, to use a cold tub, and then to get any referral to, like I said, therapy as well. Next, I'm going to run through a couple quick little ideas to show you how things that might be intimidated don't have to be as intimidating because we can modify exercises. In this exercise right here, I actually did this today with one of my clients who I'm training, who is one of my clients who deals with a lot of arthritis in her hands, in her knees, and in her low back. She doesn't feel that comfortable squatting on her own, but if I give her some assistance like this, these are some straps that are securely anchored to the ceiling. I'm able to get her to squat all the way down to the ground and back up. When she first started doing it, it was uncomfortable on her knees because her knees aren't used to moving and that type of range of motion. As we've gotten better at it and she's done it more, she knows, wait, this isn't real pain. This is just my tissue has to learn to move through these ranges of motion. Now she does it beautifully. Obviously, you don't have to use a strap if you're in your home. You can push a chair against the wall. Make sure you're in a secured space. If we go to a couple more slides, I'll show you another example of that. In this segment, we'll have this video play. This is one of my hip strengthening exercises. So this is from my clinic here in Atlanta. Just because you might have some arthritis or other issues in joints or have had, hit that play button. Perfect.
These are bent knee lateral band walks.
I'll let you guys sort of
You'll
hear
place
this real quick.
one medium resistance band up above both knees, and
So
a
these are
smaller
just some
resistance band
bands we're
around
placing
both
around the
knees.
body.
With
And
your hands
he's
on
just
the
going to
hips,
move
sit
into a
back to
little
a
bend.
loaded
So we're
athletic
not going
stance
for deep
position.
squat. And
Feet
he's just going
solid
to
into
walk
the ground.
side to side.
You'll begin
So
moving in
you
one
don't have
direction,
to do a
lifting your
big
feet
squat.
up
You just
and
have to
placing
use
them back down.
equipment.
Your
But
knees
these are the
always
things that you
stay
can do
over
to
your
help
feet.
strengthen your
They do not
hips. And when you
rotate
strengthen your hips, you
in.
improve your
Your
balance.
feet do not
You'll have more
drag
endurance
across
with
the ground,
walking and a
and your
better
midline
power
and
going
your
out that will
shoulders
be less
stay
painful.
square.
This is a
You do
more
not
advanced
swing
version with
side
double
to
bands,
side
but you
in
can
order
also
to
just use it
isolate
with one
your
little
lower
band around
body
your
as
knee.
you move.
Start slow, make it more complicated. Here you can see what I said, even if you don't have any of these fancy straps. This is obviously a full lunge. Any of these motions that I'm showing you, you're going to go through a range of motion that's comfortable for you. I even tell even my athletes this when I give them certain exercises that are challenging. I don't expect it to be perfect from the beginning. If it was perfect from the beginning, meaning you could just drop down to a squat, come back up to a squat, and the same thing with the lunge, why am I giving it to you? Because I'm supposed to be helping you work on your mobility and it's helping you see progression. So here you can use a chair. Even if you bend 4 inches up and down, that's going to build strength from getting up out of a chair, getting up out of your car, off your sofa, any of those things as well. Here's an example. A lot of people are really nervous to get onto their hands and knees because they might have pain in their wrists, in their hands, shoulders, elbows. So just another example, what we can do instead of loading your whole body onto your hands, put you up against a wall. You can see the woman on the left. You can still see she's getting some good bending of her wrists to keep her wrists healthy. She's learning to support her body weight and able to work on that upper body strength, which is so important because that's what helps us, if we get down to the ground, okay, in order to do something, how are we going to be able to get back up? And sometimes there's not people around us always to help you. Also, as an injury prevention and a fall risk assessment, we have to be thinking, how can we slowly build upon things if we ever did fall in order to safely be able to help ourselves. This is another exercise. I'll have you not started quite yet. A lot of people weights, meaning gripping the weights themselves. I can attest to it. Some days it just doesn't feel good. It hurts my fingers or hurts like a particular knuckle. These are my areas that get really, really swollen. That we can use bands and work on some strength. This is really good for your posture and for your upper back strength and around your shoulders, but you're not weight bearing anything. You don't have to grip anything. So let's go ahead and see. This is Doug doing this exercise from my office. This is demonstrating. So let's go ahead and play that.
These
There we
are
go.
tall, kneeling,
You don't
banded
have to
L
do this
press-ups.
exercise on
Use a
your
light to
knees.
medium lateral
Um,
resistance
I
band.
love
Place
these
it around both
exercises, like the one that I
arms so
just
it's
showed you,
down
just doing
just
hip
above your
strengthening.
elbows.
This is for the shoulders because that band costs $4. It goes in a suitcase. It goes with you to work. It goes with you on vacation. So you can take it anywhere and then just be able to not completely lose a program with something maybe you found at home that you love, but you can take it anywhere with you. It's cheap. It's inexpensive. So I love this one. I actually make people take breaks from working on computers and doing it just to make sure their backs are getting some activation and stabilization. Okay, so this is going to be my next little quick demo. So this is the at your desk mobility section. I do have a program that I use that is called De-Desk Your Body, and I also have what's called a TLC series. It's not about, being able to find time that you have to find 20 minutes. You have to have the floor, you have to have equipment at home, or you have to go to a gym. These are things you can just do. So first one, let's just talk. A lot of people say they can't look side to side anymore. That worries me because most of us are still driving cars. So an easy way to work on that mobility is throughout the day. If you're on a computer, you take a break. If you're doing, a hobby around the house, whether it's any type of game, I know everyone likes to use tablets and different things, is to take breaks and just 10 simple neck circles in each direction. If you're someone who really does a lot of things in a sedentary position, I say every hour on the hour, 10 neck circles. If your range of motion is just this to begin, it's better than nothing, because if we don't use it, we lose it. So if side to side is just always painful, we stop doing it. And then we compound those effects, and we're going to get tighter and stiffer and more sore. Another thing that you can do is, and I hope everyone can see, I got this sort of set up here, is if I'm sitting at my desk, I'm just going to hold my foot out, okay? If I'm sitting at a chair, if I was sitting, working on some other hobby at home, and I know that when I stand up, my ankles really hurt, or before I get out of bed in the morning, and I know I get a lot of stiffness in my ankles and my toes, before I stand up from a chair, whether it's the sofa, I watch the movie, bed, I'm just going to straighten out my leg or keep it down at your side. I'm going to straighten mine so you guys can see. And I'm just going to do ankle circles. Just 10 big ankle circles in each direction. Then I've sort of lubricated my joints a little bit. Now it's time to stand up and to walk either out of bed to where you need to go, especially even if you've been driving a car. Another easy one here is leg extensions. Same thing, achy knees from sitting too much. Give me 10 leg extensions. Get the joint moving. Let the joint know what you want from it. Get the muscles active. Then stand up and walk. You probably can get rid of some of those initial achy pains that you do before you get before you stand up out of a chair. Also, just standing up itself could be a lot better. If you warm up the knees, warm up the ankles. Next, couple other things. I hope you guys can all hear me well, so I'm going to talk loud. Is even here, you can't see my head maybe as much, but I'm going to sit here put my arms behind my head, okay, and just rotate side to side. For the back and spine, rotation is one of the things that we do with the least of, but especially the thoracic spine, which runs in between the neck and the low back, it loves to rotate. It is what gives us a lot of that mobility to turn and reach side to side and do a lot of the functional daily activities that we love. Let's warm that up, okay? So even if, let's say you're gonna go gardening, give me 10 rotations, get that back moving a little bit before I'm just gonna be sort of hunched over in a position. And last but not least here that we're gonna talk about is what I call seated toe touches. So I'm in a seated position. Go to where you feel comfortable. I'm just gonna touch my toes and back up. Even if it's something that I am gonna be in a seated position for a prolonged period of time, okay, I can just do those toe touches to break up that compression that is going through my spine and getting my back really tight while I'm in that prolonged position. Okay, so those are my easy little tips and tricks that outside of the exercise program, how we can just add movement onto the day. The last one, just because it's too hard for me to demonstrate here, that I do want to tell you, that's one of my favorites, is if you have a lot of shoulder issues and you get nervous to do like any weights overhead or reaching into your cupboards, is achy on your shoulders. Every time you walk through a doorway, just attempt, how high can I reach to try to touch the top of the doorway, even if you can't, okay? I'm a great example here with my rheumatoid. That's all my elbows. That's as far as they straighten. But every time I walk through my door, I just reach overhead. I try to touch, use as much of it as I can, because as I said, if you don't use it, you're going to lose it even more. So let's maintain what we can and then find the more effective ways and the healthy ways to progress forward. So that is our discussion portion from your panel and specialists. So next we are going to move into our Q&A. So real quick, I just want to make a little announcement, and that there was a mistake in today's reminder email regarding time. We're very sorry about this inconvenience, but please rest assured that this webinar is being recorded and will be available on the Arthritis Foundation YouTube channel, as well as on the webinars page. Again, we apologize for everybody who joined late, but you will get full access to everything that was discussed. So thank you guys for listening to that. We're gonna just dive into a couple Q&As. I'm going to start with the first one that sort of came in previously. So we've had some previous asked questions, and then we had the questions that came in to you all today. And we're going to try to get through as many as we can. If there's anything specific that you really need an answer to, you can always use the helpline at arthritis.org, and you'll be able to talk to a professional there that can help you with those questions. All right, first question is, I had a hip replacement and 2 knee replacements. What kind of exercises can I do? As a physical therapist, I'm gonna say this is one that really goes across the board, because having a total joint replacement can be very different, meaning how the body responds at different phases of your life. A lot of, now with hip replacements, a lot of in the younger population, so people who get them in their early 50s usually can return to a full exercise regimen without as many issues. From what we've discussed with this, and Paige, if you want to chime in a little bit, anything with enhanced fitness in the older population and hip replacements, how your program works to attend to those needs.
Yeah, no, great question, and a really smart one. So as part of the enrollment in the enhanced fitness program, there is a health history intake, and there's a physician notification. It's optional. Not everybody in our program has a physician, but it's a notification form. So it just lets them know about the class so that they can reach back if there's some reason a participant shouldn't be exercising, for example, which happens very, very, very rarely. It's usually more of a congratulations on getting started situation. However, sometimes they will share back and say, so glad that this, Janie is starting the class, want you to know to take hip precautions around a side leg movement because it's been X number of months since the surgery, for example. So typically we will very much stay in scope. Lauren is a doctor of physical therapy and may be doing more things than a group exercise instructor than it's appropriate for them to modify and do. So we'll involve, for instance, the physical therapist in that conversation.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing around, hip replacements, knee replacements is usually your most non-impactful are going to be the best, but really maintaining your mobility, especially with knee replacements, is very important. That's why one of the reasons I love I love Pilates reformers for that reason, because you're, on your back and it's spring resistance, which is much more gentle on the body. Pools are great for replacements. A lot of people do their recovery from the surgeries even in the pool as well. So, okay, next question. Many people are on the call are in so much pain, but they don't know where to start. One person's on tonight's call said their pool water was painful and even walking a block caused excruciating pain. What can this person do to get started, and should she push through the pain? Kirsten, do you have a starting point on that? Just because we know the differences of when, pain is the bad signal versus when pain is a signal that sometimes it means we have to work a little bit harder, right? There's a cycle to it.
Yeah, and I think that's tricky for some people to discern who've had pain their whole lives or have a specific type of pain. You're right, though, there is a difference for sure in terms of pain that you might feel in your joints versus pain that you might feel from muscle exertion that you're just not accustomed to. The latter is something that is highly adaptable. The more you move and the more you use those muscles, the better your brain talks to those muscles and tells them how to move from the nervous system perspective. And also you just build strength and improve flexibility. Our bodies are incredibly resilient that way. They want to move, despite the fact that some of us would disagree with that. But by nature, we want to move more. And I would say that for somebody who is having quite a bit of pain from walking, or from the cold pool, is to perhaps not do those things to start off with. Start with different activities that are more tolerable. It could be staying in the home and doing chair yoga, chair Tai Chi for arthritis. It would take a little bit to get down onto the floor, get off the floor for some people, but certainly doing some stretching activities or some muscle strengthening activities with just body weight. Some of the things that Lauren talked about, simple leg lifts. I say simple, not that they're easy, but they are quite straightforward and basic exercises that can be done in the home quite readily. Starting there, getting your body accustomed to moving more, building up the strength and the endurance and the improved flexibility that would help to improve walking and do other types of activities. But you got to start at the very basics whenever you're just getting going.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. And those were great points, because I think sometimes too, and maybe, a lot of people's cases that they're talking about here is that they think exercise is just means like it's exercise. Like I have to stand up, I have to walk, I have to exert myself, where movement is therapy. As we said, our bodies are built to move. They are well-oiled machines that want it. And they're going to be pretty good at finding something that's okay. If it's sitting in your chair and doing like knee marching in a chair and calf raises in a chair, you're starting to build those muscles that you need to walk that block, or even to walk from one room to the next room. Which I guess with that, we can even go into the next question, because I sort of have an idea of things going together. And that is that, how do you start with exercise if you're using a walker? First of all, with a walker as well, make sure you're in a safe space and where you're using that walker is appropriate to exercise. What I mean, if your road is uneven and has potholes, and if your house has a lot of clutter, maybe someone can help you move some things away that you can be using that walker effectively to get walking with it. And when someone's first starting with the walkers too, as a physical therapist, I like the ones where you can sit yourself down in them and, take a break if you need to and put on your locks. You can take a break and then you can walk to the next room. If you've never used a walker before at all, I would highly suggest working with a physical therapist to learn the right way to use it. Make sure that you're not going to strain your back. I see a lot of people walking with their backs really sort of, more flexed and rounded, which then the walker is not going to be helping you, because now we're going to be having other compounding factors to that. I actually had a client for his mom who was 95, and she wanted to leave the house and still use her walker, but it just wasn't safe anymore. And he just cleared a path in the house, and she does her laps in the house with the walker. This one I'm going to send over to you, Paige, because people would like to know how to find. Oh, they already filled that one in. I'm sorry. It was just about how to find the Enhanced Fitness page. So you'll have that information, and we'll go into an email, I'm pretty sure, afterwards as well. Now we're going to talk about a question about pacing. And they've heard that the more I use my hands, the more I wear down my bones. How do I keep a healthy balance between use and rest? Similarly, another woman had asked about chores and wants to count this as exercise, but also minimize the damage. Kirsten, do you have a chime in for that one?
Yeah, I think certainly really in both cases, I would like to at least relieve the idea that more activity will wear down bones. That's unlikely to happen. We, I think, have historically thought about, particularly osteoarthritis. There are many forms of arthritis. Osteoarthritis is the most common, affecting the most number of people. Typically thought of as a wear and tear disease. And I think that does a disservice to the condition of osteoarthritis. We now know that it's quite a bit more complex. It's not simply your bones and your body are not designed to wear out, like, for example, like a car tire. It doesn't work that way. There are complex disease processes happening that impacts the cartilage and that cushions the space between the bones, and that might introduce inflammation to the fluids around the joint space. So it's not a wear and tear thing. So it's not that, doing more activity is not going to wear down your bones. You may feel more pain by doing activity. And with the chores and the pacing question, one way to alleviate that is to mix it all up. It may not be as efficient in some cases. If you're doing chores and you want to clean certain rooms and get things done and you have only so much time, it may not be efficient, but it could be more effective and more tolerable to space things out. So do some activities that require your hands, dusting, that real more fine movements with your hands. Obviously cleaning does a lot, and mix that up perhaps with vacuuming, or change the activities around. Don't worry about completing an entire floor of dusting all at once. That's going to get you into a space where you're overdoing it, and could induce a flare or more pain than is necessary if you mix it up. Doing 5-10 minutes of one type of activity and then switching to 5 or 10 minutes of a whole other type of activity, vacuuming to that kind of mindset, that kind of thinking, to mix up your chores. And you can apply that to physical activity too, different exercises. You can also mix up doing some seated, some standing, some balance activities. You don't have to clump it all in with one type of thing at one time.
Yeah, I think that's really that's really important. That, like we said, if and what I said in my show, in my slide was like, think about like what it's the habits and the lifestyle that like how you're doing things now. So, maybe you're like, Sunday is laundry day. It's laundry all day long. I do my laundry, I fold my laundry, I'm hanging my laundry, and you didn't realize how long you actually did that for. For your body, if you have these processes going on, that is strain and work. So breaking it up helps. So I know with my hands, I can't make the bed and fold laundry back to back. So I make the bed because making the bed hurts my hands. I'll go and do something else and then come back and do um, the next thing. And even some of the the little exercises I demonstrated to you guys of, take your hands, like do like some pumps of your hands, get the blood flow moving and not just gripping all the time, that's putting more strain on the knuckles. When you start doing a lot of these little things, your body listens to you as well. So, Paige, I have a question for you.
Sure.
This is, how does the Enhanced Fitness Project compare to Silver Sneakers?
Yeah, great question. So, Enhanced Fitness, Silver Sneakers, Silver and Fit, Bold. I mean, a lot of these programs, we share a lot of instructors, right? So, I think what's different about Enhance. So I think it's good that you're moving and doing that program. We need more people doing Silver Sneakers and Enhanced Fitness and Tai Chi and Walk with Ease, right? There's like too many people in the world not moving because it does help you feel better. The difference with Enhance is that it's been so studied. We know it's so studied, so we know why it works and how to replicate it working in different communities. So it's a great public health investment in that work, but certainly I'm a big proponent of Silver Sneakers as well. If you've got insurance covering that program, I mean, enjoy it, go to it. But I would also say, echoing what Kirsten and Lauren are saying, mix it up, not just all dance or all walking or all strength training, right? Stirring it up really helps circulation in your body. It just helps you move better. And you're going to find those areas that when you are hurting, there are things that you can do. Focus on your strengths, do more of that. When you're having an off day, do the things that always feel good to you, right? So that you're continuing to move. We have a picture in our head as a society of what exercise is. Like exercise is this thing. And, the class.
Our life should be exercise because it's all
Right.
movement.
Yeah, physical activity. I mean, the housework that we were talking about, or my husband's outside. I hope you can't hear him working in the garden right now outside my window. Those kinds of activities we call physical activity. So exercise is structured physical activity. And, there's really health, which is a program like Enhanced Fitness or Silver Sneakers or some other programs that really, frankly, don't have to do that much to feel better, to feel remarkably better, to help your blood pressure go down, to help all these different things, help pain abate somewhat, to spark your appetite a little bit so you're eating better, all these things, versus fitness, getting some good looking muscles so you can be, at your granddaughter's wedding, have a little shoulder action showing, whatever that is that you're really interested in, or performance, right? Where you've got, you're doing that half marathon or 5K or what have you. Focus over here on the health piece, and you don't have to do that much to improve that. I think people overdo sometimes. So I would really echo what Kirsten said about, start slow and go low. Just a little bit, do a minute,
Yeah.
stay a minute, do 2 the next day. I mean,
There's always room to to keep walking up the mountain, but you can't jump to the top of it, right? So one thing here was discuss a lot of things that people with arthritis should do, but what about what they should avoid doing? I'll give a quick chime in here and then we'll see there. I sort of have a little template that I use for people with trying to gain new activity or return to activity, which is, okay, so let's talk about how my pain went through this. Did I have pain when I started, but then it went away and then I felt great, right? That's sort of telling you your body liked and desired what it was, whatever movements, if it was stretching, if it was walking, if it was an enhanced program that day that you started aching and then you felt good. Second would be, did it also, did something get worse throughout it? That probably wouldn't be good. Third step is, did I feel fine during it, but then 2 hours later I felt worse? And last would be, how did I feel when I woke up the next morning? From my standpoint, all those different points of discomfort, regardless if it's exercise or just an activity, is going to give me different feedback as to, is this good? Is it okay to push through? Or sometimes even if you are a little bit achier later in the day or the next morning, maybe it's just not an activity you should be doing as often because you need more recovery between doing it again. But I'm never going to, I cannot tell someone this is an absolute no, unless I see people that have very severe arthritic conditions doing very intense things that I never would think they could do. But, if they are mechanics, their strength, maybe they worked with a professional to learn a lot of coping techniques, their bodies are able to handle it. But if you're doing activities where mechanics are wrong, meaning your instructor tells you, your head is always forward when you're lifting that weight, it's like, yeah, that can cause, some aggravation to things, and that's probably not appropriate for you. So, ladies, what about any tips for you on the avoidance techniques?
I don't know that I have anything to add. I love your framing of checking yourself at those different time points, and the fact that I totally agree, there isn't anything that I would tell somebody they should not do or should do in terms of type of activity, like a specific don't run or something like that. I don't think that's appropriate because we are all different, and exercise, whether it's structured or lifestyle activity, is highly specific. So I think it really does make a difference for people to check in with themselves. Your point about doing exercises properly is vital. That's true for anyone, no matter what condition you have. Exercise is not rocket science. It should not be harmful. It is very simple to do correctly. It's also pretty simple to do incorrectly. So I think, making sure that your form is always correct in terms of having a good stance if you're standing, or even if you're sitting, making sure that any activity you're doing has some core strength or core positioning solidly in place, whether that's something that your trainer is working with you or something that you learn on your own from videos or reading books or however it is that you approach exercise. If you're centered in yourself in whatever position it is, then you're less likely to hurt yourself when you're moving your limbs or doing different activities. So really ensuring that you understand how your body moves in space, understanding what your own limitations are, and going from there, what your goals are and how to reach those goals. And then go for it within reason.
And log it, and then nix, this one I'm not doing again, which is fine. That's why I say fitness is great and exercise and wellness is because there's so many options and you can try them all because we're all different. One last question, and Paige, let's see if you have any ideas about this. Do you have any ideas on the best apps for goal setting or to keep yourself accountable? You had any experience yourself?
Yeah, well, Lauren, you mentioned liking to track. I'm a big, there used to be something called a Sport Brain in the late 90s or something. I mean, I've been a tracker for a long time. And I think, so there's something like that, if you have a cell phone, if you've got like Apple Health or whatever it is on it, it's probably automatically tracking something like your step count, but you can go in there and you can also do settings to look at your your gait, and how even it is, and there's lots of good information to grab in there already, without buying something else, I guess is what I'm saying. I actually love these types of health metrics that do it for you and produce the information on sleep and that kind of thing, because find the good news in your day. Maybe you didn't get all your steps in, whatever that means. And by the way, it's not necessarily 10,000, right? That's an advertising thing. So whatever your goal is on your steps, maybe you didn't hit that, but maybe you slept really well. Maybe your heart rate's a little bit down today. That may say you're kind of recovered and could try that next, adding that minute or two to your walking or whatever it is. So really look at all of that as data points for you, and then just kind of be your own scientist and, follow the information your body's giving you to feel better. And it's really clarifying. And honestly, you can always find one bit of good news in those different health metrics. It may be your sleep or your heart rate or something else, but yeah, so I like that. But I also go old school, and I've got a book. It makes me write things down. It makes me
Post-it
talk
notes.
to myself about, when I'm stressed, and maybe that's why I can see patterns, right? So I'm stressed, and maybe that's why I was stressed out by work. So then I ate too late and went right to bed. And then I had a lot of swelling in my hands the next day, and I really wasn't feeling good. And I can track all that back and go, oh yeah. So when I was stressed out about work, maybe I should have gone for a walk or done a little meditation instead of heading to the fridge. You know what I mean? So it just helps you be a little bit of a detective and scientist, and you kind of make it fun, and you don't beat yourself up about it.
Yeah, and the health trackers too, now that we have more access to them, like they are available in a variety of different price ranges and how fancy they are and whatnot. So you can get, all the bells and whistles, but like, is that even appropriate for you for what you need to track? You could have something a lot similar, a lot easier. And then, if you're somebody as well who doesn't really use these type of things a lot, isn't very tech savvy, I mean, ask your friends, ask your family. Especially, I ask all of the 20-year-olds at the office to help me with all the things, because they figure it out and they know the best stuff all the time too. So that's my little tidbit about that. I use one that's really easy. It's called Todoist, and it's just, so it's like to-do list, but it's to-do-ist, IST. And it's just like a planning thing. So you put in things that you want to do each day, and it alerts you that you have something that you need to accomplish, and you can set a goal that you need to get done by a particular time. So we do that a lot with the whole water drinking, just a chime that says, get up, walk, to the next room, drink 8 ounces of water and walk back. And that's already adding more activity than you would have done. So,
Absolutely.
All right. Well, we're going to wrap it up there. Paige and Kirsten, thank you so much for the great information, the great presentation. And I think everyone can sort of, if you see all 3 of our presentations, if you've been able to listen to it thoroughly, this really is, it's your journey, and there's really specialists out there to help empower you on it, individually, within a group of people, that are there to assist being able to figure out the best program for you, the best type of exercise, and then to modify, because we're going to keep aging. So what I do now with rheumatoid arthritis at 40 was very different than what I did at 20. I was still running marathons at 20, not anymore. And that's fine. So thank you very much. And thank you to the audience who is all listening in. And we will just go ahead and wrap it up with a couple more notes here. Here, just sort of showing you the California Coast Classic is one of the charity events that will be held this fall in order to raise money for the Arthritis Foundation. So you can go to arthritis.org /California Coast Classic if you want to learn more about this, or if you are somebody with arthritis that can't participate, but you know people that want to help support you in the community, they can do it on your behalf. All right, so last but not least, some upcoming events and resources. The Live Yes Connect groups are available on the website there. All of the webinars are available on the arthritis.org website as well. Coming up is going to be Arthritis and Mental Health, the Inflammation Connection on May 17th, and Arthritis and the Body, meaning managing other related conditions, on June 21st. The Walk to Cure Arthritis event, the podcast of Live Yes, and then last, the helpline is available for you. And please remember to end today's session by filling out your survey and giving us the feedback so we can keep providing you this information and making sure we're meeting the needs of our audience. And with that, thank you very much for joining. We really hope you enjoy this presentation because we enjoyed providing it to you.